whereas under section 1091E of the Value Added Tax Cap 15.42 the Act, it is provided that the Minister of Finance may, by order published in the Gazette, amend the schedules to the Act. And whereas the Minister of Finance...
Just hold on. I suspect the mics are working in terms of being on. I'm not sure it's projecting. Just a minute, PM. Let the Deputy Clerk come in, please.
Go speaker.
It's recorded, right?
Yes, it's recorded.
Yeah, this will be
Go ahead.
No, but for the broadcast, are you hearing it?
Yes, they're hearing it. They're picking it up.
Whereas under section 1091E of the Value Added Tax Act Cap 15.4 to the Act, it is provided that the Minister of Finance may, by order published in the Gazette, amend the schedules in the Act. And whereas it is further provided under section 1092 of the Act, that an order made pursuant to section 1091 of the Act is subject to an affirmative resolution of Parliament, except where the amendment is the customs tariffs headings only. And whereas the Minister of Finance seeks approval of the draft value-added tax amendment of Schedules 1 and 3, order to amend Schedules 1 and 3 of the Act by an affirmative resolution of Parliament. In the case of Schedule 1, in item 2.1, to include as zero-rated goods a supply of goods under the following tariff headings: 040690000200, other cheddar cheese in packages of 2.5 kilograms and more, fine 15079000200, other soya bean oils in bottles 750 millimeters or less, 15119090200, other palm oils in bottles 750 millimeters or less, 15121900200, other sunflower in bottles 750 millimeters or less, 152900200, other maize oil corn in bottles 750 millimeters or less, 15159090200, other vegetable oil in bottles 750 millimeters or less, 15171000220, margarine shells in containers 40 grams or less, 19059010100, biscuit unsweetened in packages of a content more than 5 ounces. In item 2.2, to include as a zero-rated supply of services the supply of contracting services to the government of St. Lucia with respect to component 1 of the Renewable Energy Sector Development Project. In the case of Schedule 3, to include as an exempt import the import of goods for component 1 of the Renewable Energy Sector Development Project. Be it resolved that Parliament, by affirmative resolution, approves the draft value-added tax amendment of Schedules 1 and 2 order, which amends Schedules 1 and 2 of the Act. In the case of Schedule 1, in item 2.1 to include as zero-rated goods the goods under the following tariff headings: 04069000200, other cheddar cheese in packages of 2.5 kilograms and more; 15790000200, other soya bean oil in bottles 750 milliliters or less; 15119090200, other palm oil in bottles 750 milliliters or less. And Mr. Speaker, the others have the same HS number. Other sunflower oil in bottles 750 milliliters or less. Other maize corn oil in bottles 750 milliliters or less. Other vegetable oil in bottles 750 milliliters or less. Now it changes now, Mr. Speaker. 15171000220, margarine shelf in containers 40 grams or less. 19059010100, biscuit unsweetened in packages of a content more than 5 ounces. In item 2.2, to include as zero-rated supply of services the supply of contracting services to the government of St. Lucia in respect to component 1 of the Renewable Energy Sector Development Plan. In the case of Schedule 3, to include as an exempt import the import of goods for component 1 of the Renewable Energy Sector Development Plan. Mr. Speaker, this resolution is in 2 parts. One of them is for grocery items, cheese, etc., Mr. Speaker, where we want to include these items under these tariff headings, zero-rated, Mr. Speaker. What that means is that there will be no VAT on these items. No VAT, Mr. Speaker. And this should cause, Mr. Speaker, an immediate reduction of the price of these goods once the imported price does not increase. I want to make it clear, Mr. Speaker. These goods, cheese, soya bean oil, and the Minister of Commerce will give some more detail, other palm oil, sunflower oil, other maize corn oil, other vegetable oil, margarine shelf, biscuit unsweetened, in packages of a content more than 5 ounces, Mr. Speaker, these goods carry no VAT. They carry no VAT, so the price of these goods should decrease, Mr. Speaker, once the imported price does not increase, Mr. Speaker. And this is again in government's effort to reduce the cost of living to the consumers in this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other part of the resolution is for the, and you heard the Honorable Senior Minister speak about Electricity Supply Act and geothermal and renewable energy. Mr. Speaker, that the other part of the resolution is to zero-rate certain items involved in the Renewable Energy Sector Development Project, RSEDP, Mr. Speaker, which is undertaken at Soufrière to undertake geothermal exploration during activities in 3 communities of Saltibus, Fort-Saint-Jacques, and Belle Plaine in St. Lucia, in Soufrière, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, we are asking that VAT be removed, Mr. Speaker, on both the activities, Mr. Speaker, and the resources that are necessary so we can continue the exploration for renewable energy, Mr. Speaker. Well, Mr. Speaker, I feel that is very important in that we need to cause the costs of that exploration to be as manageable as possible. And one way you can do that is if there's no VAT on the resources, the inputs, etc., Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, this resolution in two parts, and it serves two purposes. One, for the cost of living, and two, Mr. Speaker, to continue at a lower price, or at a lower cost, the exploration for geothermal energy in Soufrière, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Minister for Commerce will give more details on the effect of the zero-rated items on the cost of living, Mr. Speaker, and as how it impacts on the grocery bill for the people of St. Lucia. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Honourable members, the question is that Parliament, by affirmative resolution, approves the draft value-added tax amendment of Schedules 1 and 3 order, which amends Schedules 1 and 3 of the Act. A, in the case of Schedule 1, in item 2.1, to include as zero-rated goods, the goods under the following customs tariffs. Other cheddar cheese in packages of 2.5 kg and more. Other soya bean oil in bottles of 750 ml or less. Other palm oil in bottles 750 ml or less. Other sunflower oil in bottles of 750 ml or less. Other maize corn oil in bottles 750 ml or less. Other vegetable oil in bottles 750 ml or less. Margarine shelf in containers 40 g or less. And biscuit unsweetened in packages of a content more than 5 ounces. And in item 2.2, to include as a zero-rated supply of services the supply of contracting services to the government with respect to component 1 of the Renewable Energy Sector Development Project. And B, in the case of Schedule 3, to include as an exempt import the import of goods for component 1 of the Renewable Energy Sector Development Project. Member for Soufrière François.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, bon après-midi. Bon après-midi, Mr. Speaker. Aujourd'hui, moi, je voulais dire tout gens cette ici. Moi, je voulais complimenter aujourd'hui à ce jour créole international. Moi, je voulais dire bon après-midi pour tous les citoyens Soufrière François-Jacques. Et moi, je voulais remercier pour le support à continuer par le gouvernement. Support à continuer bon moyen, support à continuer par le Premier ministre. Là. Il est important, Mr. Speaker, parce que aujourd'hui, devant nous la présence en résolution par le Parlement, Premier ministre là, pour Castries East. Et puis, moi, je bout pour supporter le ministre du Commerce. Et que, Mr. Speaker, il est important pour moi ça faire ce monde changer, qui manière nous vivons, côté nous vivons aujourd'hui. Mr. Speaker, nous voulons connaître, un pays a voulu changer. Depuis à peu près 4 années passées, bagaille changé tout partout à la terre. Nous tenons Covid, après ça nous commençons la guerre Russie et puis Ukraine. Après ça nous tenons les affaires, ça que supply chain delays. Tout bagaille nous commençons à acheter, nous tenons 8 ans pour joindre. Ça a affecté puis bâtiment, bateau, capoté, bagaille en Saint-Lucie, et puis on la terre. Et puis ça, ça nous c'est tout partout on la terre, Mr. Speaker, pour une négociation montée. Et puis en Saint-Lucie, nous tenons pour garder ça, et quand le gouvernement garde qui manière nous ça aider le pays à mener puis négociation, là où le supermarché là pour travailler mener plus bas. Alors, Mr. Speaker, vous pouvez changer. En juillet, nous venons en Caïconsit et puis nous regardons sous le statutaire instrument à l'IMO 1107 en juillet. Et puis là, nous tenons à peu près 70. Ça va créer HS code, ça c'est un affaire bagay customs là. Et puis là, nous avons ajouté ces bagages là, nous tenons à peu près 40 négociations, ça c'est affecté. À l'aise là, nous regardons à peu près 45 en ces négociations, ça là, ça va créer standard VAT à 12,5%. Et puis ça nous tenons pour faire, c'est aller regarder qui manière nous tirer VAT là sous ces négociations ça là pour nous mener plus bas dans ces supermarkets là. Alors moi je voulais dire aujourd'hui à M. Speaker, nous frapper bagay ça la fête et puis moun qui allé dans supermarket là pour à présent dans ces bagages là tu es affecté par exemple cornflakes nous tirons pour from $19.28 pour $16.22. Nous allons from oats $11.80 pour $10.50. Nous allons par exemple sardines pour y sortir $3.54 pour $3.15. Nous allons encore pour viande sausage à peu près presque $4 et qui vient $3.55. Ketchup par exemple, Mr. Speaker, $5.61 pour $5. Mr. Speaker, ça c'est juste un petit exemple à sous ces prix, ces négociations baissé. Toutes ces négociations ça là baissé à peu près 11% pour 15%. Bon, Mr. Speaker, la tenir en l'autre catégorie négociation, ça va créer exempt goods. Ça c'est négociation nous déjà pas tenir zéro pas te payer VAT. So you exempt goods. Nous tenons à peu près 25 ces produits ça là. Et ces produits ça là c'était bagaille comme backs and necks, wings, un chef, fouettage, carottes, pois, et tuna fish par exemple. Ça c'est 25. Bon, aujourd'hui, pour nous ici à aujourd'hui, là nous fait aller commencer comme nous, c'est maman qui travaille avec moi, un ministre commerce, M. Speaker. Là nous commencer à parler, nous aller en ces négociations, en ces supermarkets là, pour garder ces pouillas. Et puis la tenue en l'air, la tenue d'autre côté, ces gens business là, parce que ça comprend la tenue difficulté dans ces classifications là. Alors nous tenons un comité, ministre finance, ministre ministry moins, qui assise et puis customs et puis ça nous a fait aujourd'hui c'est corriger SAI là pour manger dans ces bagages là, cette partie là. Et puis nous actuellement qu'on attend from Premier ministre là 8 différents SAI. Ce qui est plus important là, c'est des fromages et là il y a 6 différents l'huile. Parce que nous tenons en premier SAI là, côté nous tenons l'huile coco seulement. Mais à présent là, ça nous dit là, c'est soybean oil, sunflower oil, corn oil, vegetable oil. Ça c'est important, Mr. Speaker. Aussi, nous tenons pour ajouter, pour mettre biscuits aussi. Alors aujourd'hui, moi content, nous arrivé en passant là. Mr. Speaker, moi aussi, nous pour dire comme ça, c'est 27 produits à tenir exempt nous te promettre pour assise et puis négociation et commencer à parler encore pour regarder qui manière nous à ça joindre à dans c'est l'argent yo sauvé à qui manière yo ça passer par membre public là. Moi je veux dire Mr. Speaker à sous 25 ces produits yo déjà d'accord pour baisser à sous à peu près 10 produits. Ce qui est plus important, c'est si belle, tuna fish. Pour y aller, c'est $6.50, $6.55, Mr. Speaker. Après ça, là, il a descendu pour $5.99, $5.99, Mr. Speaker. Ça, c'est mon a sauvé 56 cents à sous chaque tin tuna fish si belle. Ça qui est aussi important, la tenue puis à dans ce chicken aussi descend, Mr. Speaker. Nous tenons par exemple chicken cavan à kilo $18.95%. $18.95, Mr. Speaker. Et puis après ça, nous payer à $18. Ça, c'est nous avons sauvé 95 cents à chaque kilo chicken. Ça, c'est même pareil là, Mr. Speaker, à chicken whole legs. Nous avons vendu à $19.25 a kilo. Après ça, c'est $18.29. Alors, nous avons sauvé 96 cents per $100 à chaque kilo. Mr. Speaker, I took some time to say a bit of Creole on this. It's a little while. But in essence, Mr. Speaker, what we have before us is an amendment to the schedule of the Value Added Tax Act, Mr. Speaker. And that adjustment is to include 8 different HS codes, 8 items, to the first amendment that we made in July this year, where we had 70 items included under the VAT adjustments that you're doing. And Mr. Speaker, the 8 heads, as you've heard it, the main one being cheddar cheese, and 6 of these items are different sizes of 7.5 ml oil. In the first SI, in 107 SI, we only had coconut oil. But now we included soybean, palm oil, sunflower oil, corn oil, and vegetable oil. In addition to that, we included margarine, 40 grams, as well as biscuits. Mr. Speaker, the discussion, in addition to what we are doing today, I want to report to the public through you, Mr. Speaker, that at the ministry, with the staff monitoring what is happening with the reduction, I can report to you, Mr. Speaker, that the 45 items that were under the standard classification have all been reduced. And the reduction percentage is between 11% to 15%. That is the reduction that we've had, and I've given examples. Cornflakes, 19.28 down to 16.22. Oatmeal, $11.80 down to $10.49. Sardines, $3.54 down to $3.15. Mr. Speaker, all the items that we agreed on have been reduced, and we have our staff monitoring the supermarkets, and the report that we have, these savings have been passed on to the consumer. In addition, Mr. Speaker, I reported at the last sitting of the House that we had a commitment to work with the business community, because the objective of moving from exempt to zero was to assist the business community in particular, whereas the move from standard to zero was more or less supporting the consumers, all the consumers. But we entered into dialogue with the members of the Chamber of Commerce because we felt that there was room for some of the savings on the exempt items to be passed on to the consumer. And I'm pleased to report, Mr. Speaker, that one of the major items that the public was crying about was the tuna fish, especially our Seabell tuna fish, which is the most popular brand, has moved from $6.55 to $5.99, a savings of 8.5%. We also have the Seabell tuna fish in water, has moved from $6.29 to $5.95, a savings of 34 cents and at a percentage of 5.4%. We have 10 other items, Mr. Speaker, from the zero-rated list that has also been reduced by 5%, and that includes sweet pepper, carrots, celery, and we also have chicken breasts and chicken legs. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to inform you that we continue to have dialogue with the business community. The work that we are doing here, as we've said before, the measures are to reduce on the cost of living, to strengthen consumer spending, to promote equitable market access, and at the same time to assist the business community in terms of financial relief. Mr. Speaker, I believe that we have achieved both of these objectives in the suite of policy positions that we have taken. I believe as well that I need to report that in addition to the removal of VAT, I need to remind the general public that as a government we removed the service charge on selected items. We also removed some import duties, and the member for Labrie, who's the Minister for Foreign Affairs, had to make representation on behalf of St. Lucia at quoted, and certain items were agreed on and removed. Our responsibility at the Ministry of Commerce is to ensure that these savings are passed on to the consumer. Mr. Speaker, I want to give you the confirmation that the staff at the Ministry of Commerce continue to work the shelves. There are things that we would like to see faster resolution on, but what I need to tell you is that the dialogue between the business community and the ministry continues, all in the hope of getting savings to pass on to our consumers. Mr. Speaker, that is the objective that we have. I want to remind the general public that we as a government do not determine the price that gets to our port, but as long as it reaches the port, the policies of the government is that we will do all in our power to work with the mechanisms that we have, which is the taxes and the VATs and so on, to remove it so that the cost of items are as low as possible. In addition to the food items, Mr. Speaker, I want to remind the general public through you that there's also the removal of VAT on the building materials, Mr. Speaker. And so far, based on the analysis that we have done, the savings have also been passed on to the general public. So what you are seeing is a growth in the construction industry, what you are seeing is the growth in jobs, and what you are seeing is that the average person is taking every action to repair their homes. Mr. Speaker, this is a government that has put the people of St. Lucia first in the area of housing, in the area of food, in the area of subsidizing flour for bread, and in the area of subsidizing fuel and LPG. This is a government that has shown significant labor love to the people of St. Lucia, Mr. Speaker. I support this resolution that's before us. I thank you.
The member for Labrie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I take the floor in support of the resolution before us. This resolution, Mr. Speaker, reflects the continuation of this government's compassionate and responsible economic policy. A policy designed to bring relief to our citizens, reduce the cost of living, and at the same time sustain growth, investment, and fiscal discipline. Mr. Speaker, this measure builds on the strong foundation laid by this government since assuming office in July of 2021. A foundation rooted in sound economics, empathy, and equity. When our government took office, we inherited an economy in distress, fiscal deficits, high debt, mounting arrears, and an erosion of public confidence. And I was rather surprised, Mr. Speaker, that when the leader of the opposition stood up earlier today, he spoke about the poor performance of this government and that people needed barrels much more because people were suffering in this country and there was somehow accumulation of wealth in the hands of a few. But Mr. Speaker, I believe that the leader of the opposition is taking a chance, tiptoeing into this honorable house and pretending as if people have forgotten their record in office between 2016 and 2021. And Mr. Speaker, let us put the facts squarely on the table. When the leader of the opposition and his colleagues and his apostles assumed office in 2016, they inherited a strong and promising platform from the Labour Party. In that year, St. Lucia's economy recorded growth of 3.4%. The construction sector in particular was booming, having expanded by over 16% in 2015. One of the strongest performances in years, Mr. Speaker. Rather than building on this solid foundation, the leader of the opposition and his apostles dismantled it. Almost immediately, they halted ongoing projects that had been set in motion by the Labour Party. The consequences were felt quickly. The construction sector contracted by 0.8% in 2016, plunged to negative 13.1% in 2018, and only managed a weak recovery in 2019 with growth of 2.6%. This decline was a direct outcome of poor economic management and reckless decision-making. To fully appreciate the extent of this mismanagement, one must consider the long list of projects that were deliberately stopped, Mr. Speaker. A few projects initiated under the Labour Party did carry forward and help maintain growth and momentum in 2017 when the construction sector expanded by 7.8%. This included the Royalton and Harbour Club hotels, which were nearing completion and generated growth in tourism-related construction. The Cul-de-sac Bridge, which almost did not proceed because the UWP government questioned the expertise of Japanese engineers. the Dennery Primary School and Choiseul Secondary School expansion, which were advanced under the DVRP project approved by the then Kenny Anthony administration. Yes, the PI Bridge. But the defining feature of the leader of the opposition's term was the halting of major projects that were critical to the economy's trajectory. St. Jude Hospital, nearing final completion, the contractor was instructed to stop for 3 years. The site lay idle because the government announced plans for a controversial new structure, that monstrosity that is referred to as the box. At least $118 million was squandered on the box. Iwanora International Airport redevelopment. Labour had worked with the World Bank's IFC to structure a PPP model with bidding documents ready and the project close to tender. The UWP abruptly cancelled the process, costing SLASPA millions of dollars in termination fees. Viewfort Administrative Center cancelled soon after commencement with millions paid in penalties to CIE Construction Limited. Sucre Square, in an unprecedented move, the then Prime Minister personally fired the contractor during a site visit. The project was later resumed with slight modifications, which the UWP then claimed as their own. And everybody knew it was a Labour Party project. The Castries Grosile Falling Highway abandoned in favor of back road repairs without any technical or engineering justification. Funding was already secured from the Kuwaiti Fund for Economic Development. And the leader of the opposition has the guts to stand in this honorable house and chastise this Prime Minister and this government. This government is not doing this and this government is not doing that. The Shock Bridge, cancelled with the funding diverted to HRDCs in Otsan, Bexan, and Blanchard. Projects with no relation to disaster vulnerability reduction. Education quality improvement project initially blocked on the grounds that curriculum should take precedence over school refurbishment. Poor state of schools eventually forced the government to reinstate the project. The Library Market and Larry Shue Self Center that my colleague from Vieux-Fort North spoke about, both discontinued, Mr. Speaker. And I can go on and on in terms of the national initiative to create employment. Terminated, leaving thousands without jobs with the excuse that about 99% were Labour supporters, majority of them single mothers. And now they're in opposition, they're trying to champion and they engage in some willy-nilly, getting all hot and sweaty about single mothers. When you all terminated them, street lighting project, a concessional CDB finance project with Lucia was cancelled. Community development projects in my constituency, a number of contractors who had their contracts already were prevented from executing the project. The combined effect of halting these projects were devastating. Had they continued, Mr. Speaker, St. Lucia would almost certainly have achieved annual growth rates above 5% in the years leading up to COVID-19. Instead, the economy lost momentum and no new hotel rooms were added under the UWP administration. Not one. Not in health tourism, not in anything. Even at the time, fellas used to come from overseas to engage in Batai Cock in St. Lucia. Not even a cage. A room in a cage that was built to accommodate Batai Cock tourism, Mr. Speaker. To make matters worse, Mr. Speaker, the contract with range development was cancelled at great cost to the state. The broader economic implications were stark. The momentum of 2016 carried into 2017 with growth at 3.4% in both years. Effectively, the last legacy of the Kenny Anthony administration. From there, the economy nosedived. 2.9% in 2018. And shockingly, a contraction of minus 0.7% in 2019. This was before COVID. In 2019, Mr. Speaker, while the global economy was expanding and ECCB countries averaged over 3% growth, St. Lucia alone was in recession. But he stands over there and tries to criticize this government for doing well, as if somehow we have forgotten what they did. This underscored the fundamental failure of UWP's economic mismanagement. The leader of the opposition would have been advised by many who are around him now, suggesting that they can replace this administration and do better, Mr. Speaker. When COVID struck in 2020, the economy was already weakened and unprepared. The result was catastrophic. GDP contracted by almost 24%, the steepest collapse in the Eastern Caribbean. Debt skyrocketed, climbed like a homesick angel. The debt to GDP ratio jumped from 60.4% in 2019 to 92.5% in 2020, the largest increase in the ECCB region. The government drew down every concessional facility with the IMF, World Bank, and CDB, yet the economy remained in free fall. And during that time, barbershops were closed, small businesses were closed. How much of those monies were given to support the most vulnerable? And then you come and talk about, oh, the barrels are so important because as if people are suffering. Did the people tell you that they are suffering? And we'll get to that momentarily. Even with all this borrowing, they could not pay the nation's bills. Outstanding payables to contractors, suppliers, and landlords rose from 23 million in 2016 to 47 million in 2019, and they nearly doubled to 93 million in 2020. At its peak, government arrests reached 184 million, starving local businesses of cash flow, crippling investment, and squeezing household income. And then you expect to tiptoe your way back to government? The unemployment crisis reflected this mismanagement. Between 2019 and 2020, the unemployment rate jumped by almost 5% points, Mr. Speaker. The number of employed persons fell from 83,977 in 2019 to just 75,016 in 2020. A loss of nearly 9,000 jobs in a single year. And that should give you an idea as to the number of persons who required assistance. And Mr. Speaker, I can go on and on and on talking about how this government plunged our country into economic crisis. But I would conclude on that point by indicating that the record is clear. The Labour Party handed the UWP a stable and growing economy, with projects in motion and momentum building. The leader of the opposition and his apostles squandered it all. They halted critical projects, derailed growth, drove the country into recession even before COVID-19, piled up unsustainable debt, failed to pay bills, and presided over the steepest collapse in the Caribbean when the pandemic hit. Added to that, mismanagement, broken promises, and misplaced priorities, and the verdict is unavoidable. The Chasney administration at the time failed St. Lucia. And this is why the people of this country dislodged them from the corridors of power. But Mr. Speaker, but under the steady hand of the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, this government charted a new course. We rescued the country and we gave people an improved framework to survive in the new dispensation. One focus on stabilizing the economy, protecting the vulnerable, and creating opportunities for all St. Lucians. And the results, Mr. Speaker, are undeniable. Real GDP has grown by 11.3%, 20.6%, 3.3%, and 4.7% over the last 4 years. An extraordinary recovery by any measure. Unemployment has dropped to 10.8%. And if you think PJP 1.0 was magical, to take it where it was to now 10.8, wait for PJP 2.0. Unemployment will be extinct. Inflation is under control today, recorded at negative 0.5% in 2024, the lowest in the OECS. And the public debt to GDP ratio has declined from 92.5% in 2020 to 73.5% in 2024, demonstrating discipline and responsible fiscal management. What are you criticizing, Leader of the Opposition and your apostles? Mr. Speaker, the resolution before this Honorable House amends Schedule 1 and 3 of the Value Added Tax Cap 15.42 to extend relief to our people and to advance the government's development priorities. This amendment zero rates key household goods, including cheddar cheese, soya bean, palm, sunflower, maize, and other vegetable oils, margarine, and unsweetened biscuits. Zero rates contracting services for the government under Component 1 of the Renewable Energy Sector Development Project, and exempt from VAT and import duties the importation of goods for that project. Mr. Speaker, these are deliberate, targeted interventions that lower the cost of living while simultaneously driving investment in renewable energy and sustainable infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, this resolution is not an isolated measure. It is part of a coherent and integrated policy framework that has consistently prioritized the welfare of our citizens. Let me remind this Honorable House of the relief measures that have preceded it. 1. Removal of the 6% service charge on all price control food items, a decisive action to bring down supermarket prices. Elimination of import duties on those same items to ensure the full benefit of relief reaches consumers. 3. Expansion of the zero-rated VAT list covering flour, rice, sugar, milk, chicken, fish, baby formula, and other essential household goods. 4. VAT and import duty exemptions for renewable energy equipment and construction materials, driving sustainability and supporting affordable housing, Mr. Speaker. Removal of VAT on sanitary products, affirming our commitment to equity, dignity, and gender-sensitive policymaking. And 6, fuel subsidies and price stabilization, maintaining pump prices at affordable levels despite volatile global conditions. Each of these measures, Mr. Speaker, is a thread in the same policy fabric, woven carefully to ease the burden on households and strengthen economic resilience. What is wrong with that? That you had to come and criticize the government by taking serious measures in a coherent way, in a systematic way, to ease the squeeze on the people of this country? Mr. Speaker, while the opposition continues to peddle the false narrative that this government is overtaxing the people, the evidence tells a very different story. Our fiscal policy has been one of responsibility, equity, and relief. Let us consider the facts as I prepare to close. We have reduced income tax by increasing the personal allowance from 18,000 to 25,000, removing 15,000 people from the tax roll, and ensuring that 2/3 of all workers now pay less tax. We have increased the minimum pension to $725 for former government employees and $500 for NIC pensioners, providing dignity to those who serve this nation. We have granted wage increases to public officers, culminating in a 13% cumulative rise over a sustained period, Mr. Speaker. and paid 34.5 million in back pay, tax-free. We have implemented a national minimum wage effective August 2024, raising incomes for thousands of workers in the private sector. And we have maintained vital subsidies on rice, flour, sugar, LPG, and fuel for fishers, all while strengthening public finances. So whilst we are easing the squeeze on the people of this country, we are growing the economy. We are re-establishing order in the nation's finances, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these measures represent an income transfer from government to the people. Money in their pockets, stability in their households, and confidence in the economy. This, Mr. Speaker, is the real ching-ching in their pockets. In the pockets of ordinary St. Lucians. Mr. Speaker, these measures are working. Real GDP per capita has increased by 20.6% from US 11,442 in 2019 to US 13,799 in 2024, meaning the average St. Lucian is significantly better off today than 5 years ago. The construction sector has expanded by 22.4%, fueled by VAT exemptions and renewed investor confidence. The private sector is optimistic, Mr. Speaker, with 50% of businesses increasing investment plans and sales growth across multiple sectors, according to the Chamber of Commerce's 2024 Business Performance Survey. And crucially, our primary fiscal balance has shifted from a deficit of 115.9 million in 2020-2021 to a surplus of 101.8 million, creating the fiscal space needed to invest in health, education, and security. Mr. Speaker, our fiscal policy has not only restored economic confidence, it has protected livelihoods. We have invested heavily in education through free CSEC, math and English, 1 laptop per child, and new technical vocational schools. Health, with the nearing the completion of St. Jude's Hospital, expansion of emergency services, and free health services for seniors, is a tremendous help to the people of this country, to the most vulnerable, to the middle class, to all classes of people in this country. Equity and social justice through reinstated distress funds, HOPE and BNTF programs, and the youth empowerment through the youth economy, which has provided over 1,100 grants and 4.5 million in funding for young businessmen and women. This is a government that not only manages numbers but touches lives, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, the UWP, in the desperate but futile attempt to get back into office, busy trying to target young people, saying that the code is yellow, when that very code yellow locked them out of opportunities between 2016 and 2021. And the young people know that code yellow locked them out of the laptop program, locked them out completely. And when COVID came, they were busy all over the place looking for all types of computers for online learning. Even toy computers they wanted people to bring to them because they were desperate at the time. And so, Mr. Speaker, they are surprised to see the number of young people that are following the Labour Party. And the Labour Party, the Honorable Philip Joseph Pierre, never placed no country in election mode. Whilst we are working, the people are celebrating the achievements of the government because they know that the fruits of the labor are actually going into exactly what I've articulated to benefit the people of this country. And they will continue to vote for the Labour Party because they are convinced that the Labour Party is doing the right thing for them and for the rest of the country. So this is why the mood is red and the code is also red. Real economic development. R-E-D. So the mood is red, the code is red. And that is the red code that unlocked the doors of opportunity for the youth to benefit from the youth economy. And now they are contributing as equal and valuable partners in the development of their country, Mr. Speaker. And under the former Prime Minister, Dr. Kennedy Anthony, Labour became an expanding doctrine. And under the current Prime Minister, it is further expanding. And their lies and their failed policies are sinking in the rising tide of the acceptance of the policies of the St. Lucia Labour Party that are working for the people of this country. And when you look at our rallies compared to theirs, it is not by accident that you see thousands of people. But when they were launching the 17 candidates or whatever, how many? They can hardly find 17 other persons to come to witness the launching of the 17 candidates. But you know, they are busy all over the place, peddling lies and trying to create injury to the government. Mr. Speaker, the difference, and you know, Mr. Speaker, what is interesting is this. We did things that were sensitive to national mood. Sensitive to national mood. And today, even bring-up bottle parties having a bigger crowd than the launchings of the United Workers' Party. The difference between this government and those opposite could not be starker. Where they govern with slogans and mismanagement, we govern with strategy and results. Where they promised to eliminate VAT and ended up increasing fuel taxes, we have reduced the tax burden and delivered relief. Where they presided over economic contraction, we have delivered 4 consecutive years of robust growth. And where they left fiscal chaos, we have restored stability, credibility, and confidence. The St. Lucian people remember the record and they see the results. Mr. Speaker, this value-added tax amendment of Scheduled 1 and 3, Order 2025, is yet another demonstration of this government's enduring commitment to protecting the people, strengthening the economy, and building a fairer, more resilient St. Lucia. It builds upon our consistent record of income tax relief, higher pensions for retirees, wage increases for public servants, service charge and duty exemptions, VAT zero rating on essential items, and strategic investments in renewable energy and food security. We are not a government of talk. We are a government of delivery. We do not make empty promises. We make progress, and we will continue to put the people of St. Lucia first. I therefore commend this resolution to this Honorable House and urge all members to lend their full support. Mr. Speaker, I yield the floor. That's a measure of confidence.
Member of Castries North.
Mr. Speaker, I'm indeed proud this afternoon to stand here in support of this resolution which seeks to amend the value-added tax Schedule 1 and 3, which will assist in the many areas which have been articulated in the two schedules of the recommendation. But most specifically, Mr. Speaker, I stand in support of item B of the resolution, which deals with the component for the renewable energy sector development project, which is currently being undertaken. And members would recall this morning when I gave the statement, my statement, regarding the proposed electricity bill, which is part of the overall energy sector development plan in this country, in which St. Lucia has been able over the years, after much work ever since 2013, to develop a framework of development for renewable energy and energy efficiency here in this country. As part of our mandate and our mission in St. Lucia, in an attempt to decarbonize the environment, we have been able to develop an energy mix of solar, wind, and geothermal with backup of fossil fuel to be able to present to the people of this country the ability to enjoy a sustainable energy environment and to reduce the cost, particularly of electricity. But that also deals with matters pertaining to renewable electric vehicles, etc., and to provide the environment to encourage persons to be able to acquire the necessary equipment, the necessary vehicles that will aid in the decarbonization of the environment, but at the same time to reduce cost of operations and efficiency of vehicles. But one of the most ambitious initiatives, Mr. Speaker, that this bill will assist in is that of the Renewable Energy Sector Development Project, which is really the exploration with the intention of determining the availability of energy and the capacity of energy that is available to bring into the mix of energy in this country. As history would show it, that the first exploration here in this country started as early as 1960 thereabout, and then again in 1974 around that time. But more recently, we have seen many initiatives being undertaken to, one, not just to determine whether geothermal steam exists, but whether we have the capacity to develop that steam into a sustainable exercise here in this country. And so St. Lucia, Mr. Speaker, has been quite fortunate in being able to attract funding from the World Bank, funding to the tune of $21.9 million US, which in the first instance is a grant to the government of St. Lucia. That grant, once it is successful in terms of the exploration, which will cost $16.6 million, once that is successful, and when I say successful, it means success in terms of not just determining, yes, there is the capacity, but it is a sustainable capacity that can encourage private sector investment. Then that grant turns into a loan for which the government of St. Lucia is required to meet the cost. In addition to the loan, in addition to the grant conversion into a loan based on the success of the exploration, the government is responsible for maintaining a project office which has been established. Work has already started. Government is supposed to do the necessary acquisition of land to provide the operating space, the drilling platforms, etc., for continuing the exercise. And persons who are affected by the project affected persons, are to be relocated, and to be relocated not necessarily, in fact not at all, in the present conditions, but to relocate them in better conditions so that they can continue to carry on the business, whether it's farming or whatever the case may be. That project, Mr. Speaker, is way advanced. So what this piece of legislation, the amendment to the legislation, will do, Mr. Speaker, is to be able to circumvent the additional expenses which will be placed on the project, whether it's in terms of maintaining the project office to pay VAT, to maintain staff to pay VAT, to maintain purchases for the project, procurement of goods and services for that project, the procurement of whatever is needed, Mr. Speaker. This amendment to this piece of legislation will assist in reducing the cost of the development of the sector. And so, Mr. Speaker, once that is done, it is anticipated that an estimated 30 megawatts of geothermal energy should be developed. If we're able to do that, we're 1/3 ahead of the peak capacity that the country will need in the next 10 years. So for me, Mr. Speaker, it's an exciting moment. It's an exciting moment in that it gives us yet another pivot, another opportunity, another platform to push forward in terms of revolutionizing the energy sector and modernizing our energy sector to bring about energy efficiency, energy sustainability, and of course clean energy within our community. And therefore, my short contribution is to give support to the resolution, support that is required, support that is necessary, support that will assist us as we move forward in re-engineering the environment for energy, and particularly in generating electricity for our people, and to reduce productivity costs, production costs in industry, in whatever sector that you've got in the country where energy is often utilized. And I do hope, Mr. Speaker, that someday, I may not be here at the time, but someday after the exploration is completed and it is successful, and that the exploration will take about 3 years to be completed. Once that is done, I'm hoping that we'll be successful in attracting an investor that will be able to participate in the generation of electricity through geothermal power. And so I give my full support to the resolution, and I look forward to its passage. I thank you.
Finance Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, having heard from these three members, I urge passage of the resolution.
Honourable members, the question is that Parliament, by affirmative resolution, approves the draft value-added tax amendment of Schedules 1 and 3 order, which amends Schedules 1 and 3 of the Act. A, in the case of Schedule 1, Roman numeral 1, in item 2.1, to include as zero-rated goods the goods under the following customs tariff headings: other cheddar cheese in packages of 2.5 kg and more, other soya bean oil in bottles 750 ml or less, other palm oil in bottles 750 ml or less, other sunflower oil in bottles 750 ml or less, other maize corn oil in bottles 750 ml or less, other vegetable oil in bottles 750 ml or less, margarine shelf in containers 40g or less, biscuit unsweetened in packages of a content more than 5 ounces. Roman numeral 2, in item 2.2, to include as a zero-rated supply of services, the supply of contracting services to the government with respect to component 1 of the Renewable Energy Sector Development Project, and B, in the case of Schedule 3, to include as an exempt import the import of goods for component 1 of the Renewable Energy Sector Development Project. I now put the question. As many as of that opinion say aye. As many as of a contrary opinion say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Minister for National Security.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to present for first reading a bill shortly entitled Criminal Records Rehabilitation of Offenders Amendment.
Criminal Records Rehabilitation of Offenders Amendment.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be presented for second reading at the next or subsequent sitting of this Honorable House.
Minister for Finance.
For first reading of a bill shortly entitled Public Procurement Amendment.
Public Procurement Amendment.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be presented for second reading at the next or subsequent sitting of the House.
Minister for Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to present for first reading a bill shortly entitled Community Tourism Development Amendment.
Community Tourism Development Amendment.
Minister for Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move for the suspension of the Standing Order number 48-2 to enable this bill to go through its remaining stages at this sitting.
Honourable members, the question is that Standing Order 48-2 be suspended in order to allow the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Tourism to proceed with the remaining stages of the bill at this sitting. I now put the question. As many as of that opinion say aye. As many as of a contrary opinion say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Leave is granted.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to present for second reading a bill shortly entitled Community Tourism Development Amendment. You have to orient. You have to orient first. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I present a brief overview of the changes which are being proposed, I wish to make a few remarks about the continued success of the Community Tourism Agency in advancing the growth of small, micro, and medium enterprises within our tourism sector. To date, Mr. Speaker, 25 loans and grants have been disbursed, representing a total investment of $3.4 million in the accommodation, food, and beverage and recreation subsectors. These projects represent 25 locals who are now business owners and creating employment opportunities for persons within their respective communities. These interventions, Mr. Speaker, have been made possible through our partnership with the CARICOM Development Fund, CDF, and the St. Lucia Development Bank, SLDB, which underwrites all loans following approval by the board of the CTA. Currently, Mr. Speaker, the agency has an additional 10 board-approved projects which have not commenced execution, with a total investment value of $1.72 million. Additionally, there are further 8 projects currently at the bank pending approval with an investment value of $1.76 million. The majority of approved projects are in the recreation subsector, with strong representation from the community of Strozel, which alone accounts for several innovative tourism experiences under the Strozel Earth Tour initiative. Other approved recreation projects were in the communities of Miku and Ancillary, which have not been traditionally associated with the tourism industry, and is indicative of the growing diversification of the island's tourism product and the willingness of persons in those communities to the risk of business entrepreneurship. In addition to these partner-led projects, the CTA is also undertaking the development of strategic projects, one of which is the CMOS experience earmarked for Praler. St. Lucia over the last 5 years has become widely known for our high-quality CMOS, which possess significant medicinal value. The agency is currently developing a tour which would guide visitors through the cultivation process and its various uses. At present, Mr. Speaker, the agency is working with over 100 clients across the island, over 100 clients, each at various stages of business development and requiring different levels of support. It's important to note that not all of these clients are seeking financing. Many are engaging the CTA for marketing support, assistance with public liability insurance, and training in areas such as hospitality and business management. All of these activities are being undertaken concurrently with the disbursement of loans and grants, reflecting the agency's holistic approach to community tourism development. Looking ahead, the CTA has identified a priority list of approximately 20 projects slated for rollout within the next 18 months as part of its effort to stimulate entrepreneurship and expand community-based tourism offerings. In addition, the agency is developing an innovative online booking platform that will connect CTA partners directly with travel agents and visitors seeking authentic St. Lucian experiences. This platform will allow users to book complete itineraries, including accommodation, restaurant reservations, and tour activities in one seamless process. It is anticipated that this initiative will significantly enhance the visibility of CTA partners, drive increased sales, and strengthen their access to global tourism markets. These initiatives demonstrate the holistic approach taken by the Community Tourism Agency, which we anticipate will drive increased local participation, stronger community linkages, and gradually transform tourism into a more inclusive and sustainable pillar of our national economy. Mr. Speaker, it's been about 3 years since we passed the community tourism legislation, and just about 2 years, Mr. Speaker, since we've actually implemented the community tourism program. And of course, experience would have taught us over the last couple of years that there are gaps and there are missing elements, Mr. Speaker, within the legislation which was passed in this Honorable House. So today, Mr. Speaker, we seek to amend the legislation to ensure that the Community Tourism Agency is guided by a legislative framework that can allow it to enhance the efficiency beyond what I presented earlier, Mr. Speaker. I want to start, Mr. Speaker, with the amendment of Section 2, Mr. Speaker. This amendment, Mr. Speaker, recognizes non-profit organizations such as community councils and foundations as eligible partners in the development and management of community tourism initiatives. Such organizations possess an intimate understanding of the community's history, culture, and environment, which enables them to design authentic and sustainable tourism experiences that maintain local traditions and minimize cultural and environmental harm. The inclusion, Mr. Speaker, of these entities was therefore necessary to allow the Community Tourism Agency to work collaboratively with such groups. So, because we see, Mr. Speaker, the community councils as a vital agency with which we can work. The current definition has also proven too restrictive, effectively excluding well-established and reputable non-profit organizations such as the Library Development Foundation and the Foster Jacques Development Committee, which already play an integral role in developing the community tourism product. Similarly, the ancillary canoes community, which is in the process of formalizing its own foundation, would have been unable to collaborate with the CTA and under the existing framework. Furthermore, in some instances, community councils themselves are proprietors of tourism enterprises within their respective communities. However, the current legislation prevents them from accessing CTA programs and aim at enhancing, upgrading, and sustaining these initiatives. The amendment therefore enables these active community entities to benefit from the full range of CTA support, such as financial assistance, marketing, operational support, and training. The plan, Mr. Speaker, is to ensure that community tourism development is inclusive, locally driven, and leverages the existing capacities and intimate local knowledge of these organizations. The definition of community tourism product to include now, Mr. Speaker, and this is a further amendment that we're proposing to make, Mr. Speaker, is to include the provision of tour service. Previously, a tour service could not qualify for funding. This amendment will broaden the definition of a community tourism product to include, as I said, the provision of tour services. Previously, what we had referenced accommodation, standalone restaurants and bars, and specific experiences such as spas and gift shops. We're now expanding it, Mr. Speaker, to allow for authentic community-based experiences, many of which already exist and have demonstrated their viability and value to visitors. So this will include culinary tours, marine activities, e-bike excursions, all of which reflect the creativity and entrepreneurial acumen of local communities. Mr. Speaker, this amendment will allow proprietors to access all the resources under the Community Tourism Development Act and will assist us in enhancing the product and diversifying the product, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to the amendment of Section 67, 66, and 67. Mr. Speaker, the enactment of the Tourism Development Act introduced new provisions and structures that, in a sense, Mr. Speaker, were necessary to ensure that both the TDA that I mentioned and the Community Tourism Development Act were aligned and that there were no inconsistencies between the two pieces of legislation. So the amendment to Section 66 references the approval process for community tourism investments to reflect the framework established under the TDA. And like I said, this is to ensure uniformity in how applications within certain thresholds are viewed and approved. Because, as I said, there are two pieces of legislation, the TDA and the Community Tourism Development Act. And we must make sure that the two of them are aligned and there are no inconsistencies between them. And, Mr. Speaker, I also want to repeat the importance of ensuring that the community tourism projects themselves receive the kind of support legislatively that they need to ensure there is greater efficiency in the implementation of those projects, Mr. Speaker. So those few amendments, Mr. Speaker, I believe will enhance and expand the community tourism program beyond what we have. Mr. Speaker, we still need to do a further review because there are still some changes that are needed that we cannot address in the legislation by itself. So let me just give you two examples, Mr. Speaker. Assuming that as a young person in a particular community, you want to start off a community tourism experience, but you live on family land. Now, if you're going to apply to DCA for permission to put up a structure, you need to have either title or the consent to use the land. But we find so many initiatives are stalled because persons don't have title because there's family land that they live on or they have access to, And the process of getting all family members that have rights to the land to agree can prove to be cumbersome. So we have to find a way where some of the projects that get stalled, delayed, or even in some cases persons have to give up on the idea because of the issue of demonstrating title or consent. How can we cause it to facilitate it, to cause it to happen? Do we still provide the monies, even if we know that there may be a family dispute down the road that may cause the project to be affected? Another instance, Mr. Speaker, is as it is structured, we provide loans and grants. A grant is up to 1/3 of the total amount that you require. But some persons can get it to that next stage of implementation, to hire an architect, to do a concept, to get engineering drawings done, and all the other preparatory work. They don't have the financing for it. But the way we are structured, we assume you will take it to this point where it is approved by the Community Tourism Agency, and then you get the financing. And I think we might need to rethink it a bit, where the grant side at least can be made available to you to allow you to take the project to the point where it can be executed. Because the whole purpose of this program is for persons who cannot get financing through the mainstream means to be able to get the grant and the loan from this agency. So if that's why we are created, you then have to ask the question, why can we not give you the support to take it up to that point? So we are reviewing some of those deficiencies still, and we very well have to come back to this Honorable House, Mr. Speaker, to allow us to ensure that it continues to grow and for it to develop, Mr. Speaker, and to really meet and achieve the objects for which it was created. So, Mr. Speaker, I present those amendments to the Honorable House, and I ask for honorable members to approve it. Thank you very much.
Members, before I put the question, the microphones to my left are again not working, so I'd like to suspend for 5 minutes while they're checked out. So we are suspended for 5 minutes. Officer, can you please the mace?